Camera's on.
That was interesting, like,
With the father, with the elected father.
Hi Fred, I have you on speaker and I'm putting my phone in the middle of the table. You're welcome.
All right, so, thank you. I feel like I'm married.
sounds like you guys been busy the past couple days.
I've tested negative twice now.
Hey, John.
Where I would
Thanks for
get
that.
that shit crazy. Oh, thank you.
What it was,
And it's about to
it
pay.
took me, because it was, number one, it was the day before, it was Thursday, not Friday, and then it was, we had the address.
It could have been.
That's where you started, that's why I couldn't find it. That's what it was, but it was right there too, saw it. Pretty cool. Freaking people out, and we found them, and we wanted.
Just open the woods, just doing
It's probably the best
I
word
look
we
over
use.
there and I see people going, I just wonder.
Came out of the.
What the hell's going on?
This will be the last time I ever go on a boat.
I should look at
There's
the
nothing wrong with
size of the boat.
Huh?
How big was the boat?
That's right.
Yeah, Norwegian cruise line.
Yeah, let me know.
Got COVID, third day.
They're not testing for it, are they?
No,
They're not
but
requiring boosters.
people are going on these ships and they don't damn well. What do you think? They say, why, at my vacation, I'm going.
Whatever happened, I talked to you.
They infected
something,
four of my
whatever
families besides
somebody
that.
did. I don't get anything in the.
Yeah,
they're
Michelle
aware.
said, so that's what they'll do after this meeting, they'll help you out
Yeah,
with
but
that.
and I said, put a password in,
So-
put a password in. No, doesn't like it.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Did you get on the plane?
What happened to us.
Yeah,
Oh,
we
yeah.
came back on plane. They gave us the pills right away.
So anyway, somebody will.
It's still in the
Yeah.
Oh, you're saying,
It was, we just responded to it.
okay, all right, you respond?
Right, so it's not yet.
Oh, okay, all right, so it's not a claim against the.
Correct.
All right,
So, who went to E-Town? Did you go to E-Town? Yeah. That's not good for Ron, unless you want to do that.
All right, let me take a look.
Different places.
Yeah, I understand now, I understand. It's just, you guys responding there. Do you have any video?
Yeah, well, that, they got a request too, which I think they're gonna be asking too. I don't know if it captured anything.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Sorry.
That's it. Okay, call the meeting of the Fire and Police Committee to order. Roll call, please.
Phil Jenks,
In here.
Fred Noble will be joined by phone. Here. Ron Sanko. Fred Lettering,
Here.
and Keith Durr will be absent.
Okay, do we have any public comments today?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
if I may. I wish once more to protest the double standards that persist in many activities, including police activity. Immediately after the 2021 general election, Mr. Jenks spoke against using public right-of-way for political yard signs. Mr. Jenks also spoke strongly in favor of tasking the police with the enforcement of Ordinance 606A by physically removing political signs. Just recently, we have welcomed a new family of residents on Old Mill Road. They are politically involved and have displayed yard signs on their side of the walkway just by their private light pole. I drove many times by, and the signs appeared to be outside of the right-of-way, at least it wasn't by much. Last week, they received a visit by a police officer asking them to move the signs further back than their private light pole. At the same time, just a few houses up the street, Republican signs are placed right at the curb. I'm providing a picture, was taken this morning, and those signs have been there since, I guess, 2 weeks ago. A couple of houses up the Old Mill, more Republican signs right at the curb. So what message are we sending these new residents? That their Democratic affiliation is unwelcome. That's how I see it. At Infrastructure Committee, I brought up to your attention the signs on Museum Road. The signs are clearly in the public right-of-way, being placed way farther than the fence line where the private property ends. I'm providing some pictures. The signs are closer to the street than the transformer and the light pole, which are on borough property. Another picture. And another picture is the official map of the area, which shows that the borough property is 80 feet wide, which corresponds to the actual distance between fence lines. So anything in between those fence lines is borough property. Finally, I disagree. Personally, it doesn't matter really my opinion, but I will voice it. That the police should have been the ones tasked with this enforcement. But since the council voted on this course of action, I urge you to ensure that this is not done in a preferential manner. We either do it for everybody or we don't. Furthermore, our officers remove the political signs from various properties. These actions are political intimidation and may be an infringement of civil rights based on the First Amendment. If the exact placement of political signs in people's yard is a priority for this borough, please contact both political parties or other political parties, whatever the case may be,
Okay, Mr.
so there
Janik, your
can
5
be more
minutes is up.
education for
Your 5
residents.
minutes is up.
The camera is
Thank you very
recording.
much. Your 5 minutes is
No,
up.
my 5 minutes are not up.
It certainly is. Please sit down. Thank you. Are there any other public comments? Hearing none, we will move on to fire department.
Good afternoon. For the month of September, there's been 132 responses consisting of 20 fires, 19 motor vehicle accidents, 39 QRS medical responses, out of which we had patient contacts 13 times, 14 hazardous conditions, 39 alarm activations, and 1 fire police only call. Total responses in the borough 76, total responses in Spring Township 27. I broke that down a little bit more. Total responses outside of the borough 29. We had 41 overlapping calls to date. 15 were Spring and Why Missing dispatched at the same time to 2 separate incidents. 12 were Why Missing dispatched to 2 incidents at the same time. And 14 were Spring dispatched to 2 incidents at the same time. There was no fire damage or saved property for the month of September. Average turnout for September was 4.6 personnel. We had 18 volunteer responses, and to date we have 1,300 responses. For the expanded August report, there were 269 responses system-wide, out of which Why Missing responded to 156, Spring responded to 185. Our busiest day of the week was Wednesday, busiest hour of the day was 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. There was 52 QRS responses for Why Missing in the month of August. We had 20 patient contacts and 0 Narcan administration. We had a property loss of $5,000 in the month of August, saved property $360,000. That was 1513 Girard Avenue. We gave aid 62 times, we received aid 28 times, that was system-wide. 75 overlapping calls. Dispatch to en route was 1 minute 55 seconds. Dispatch to on scene 6 minutes 55 seconds. And our on scene time was 20 minutes 20 seconds. We provided mutual aid to Birdsboro Borough 1 time, Lauraldale Borough 2, Western Berks Fire Department 25, Greenfields Fire Department Bern Township 7, Moton 3, West Reading 5, Muhlenberg Township 12, Shillington 1, Primrose Township 4, and the City of Reading 2. That's all I have. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions for fire? Yeah, thank you, Colin.
If I may, I would add that we have received funds for the donation anonymously that will be applied to fire station upgrades to furniture. And that was received and Is it ordered?
Not yet.
Yeah. Yeah, you wanna mention anything on fire prevention?
There's a bunch of fire prevention events already scheduled. We're gonna be doing a joint open house at Spring on October 15th from 9 to 2. In the weekly update, I don't have that information in front of me. You're attached to it. There's a bunch of fire prevention details already scheduled in Wyomissing specifically for the Atonement Church, Kinder Care, and Running Lab, I believe.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Okay. Western Berks, Tony.
Hi, we had 293 responses for the month of August. 215 were transported. 23 people refused. We had 3 standbys, 46 canceled calls and 6 assists. Our dispatch to responding time is 1 minute and 6 seconds. Our average seat time is 13 minutes and 51 seconds. Our busiest hour is 8 a.m. Again, most patients go to Reading Hospital. The breakdown for the Highlands and Country Meadows of those calls were 38 to the Highlands and 29 to Country Meadows, for a total volume of 1982 for the year. Year you were born, right?
No, I wish.
Hey, tell me what this standby is. You guys still there waiting, or in the other 17 you're
Why
still
missing
there?
football?
Oh, you're sitting there. Okay, got
Why
it.
missing football?
Are you still getting ready to move in?
We are in, it's the last thing on the agenda. We are in the building, we are operating out of the building. Tom's happy because he doesn't have to hear anything anymore.
He's moving up to your station.
I've got an office for him right next to me. Oh, great. So yeah, so we'll be having something in the near future.
Good, good. Hey, anybody have anything else for coming? Thank you. Police Department, John.
Good afternoon, everyone. First off, I have 2 applications for handicap spaces within the borough. The first is located at 1540 Penn Avenue. I have all the requests and information from the individual that has requested that space. There are no spaces in that area on Penn Avenue, so it would not be interfering with anybody else. There's no off-street parking available to her either. So I would move that it be voted upon to go forward to council at the next council meeting for final approval.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. It's moved to council.
The second location was here on Fairview Avenue, 1110 Fairview. It's the apartment complex here, a building right next to right at the end of the street here between Fairview and Trent comes up. I guess it was the Idler building? Is that
Yeah,
what it was?
Iris Club.
Iris Club. It was an Iris Club. One of the residents there has requested a sign to be put there. He's claiming that there's no off-street parking that he has access to. There is a lot on the back off of Terrace, but there is no way for somebody to get from that lot to the top to the entrance to his residence, other than the public stairway that leads down off of Terrace up here to Fairview. So he is making that request. I again have all the paperwork for him, to include the handicap sign and placard that he has for his registration.
Isn't there a sign, a spot on that block?
I've checked both blocks. I checked them again today even, and there's nothing there.
I thought there was one at the back of the old YMCA Institute.
No.
Okay.
Where would you put that sign, you know?
Well, I would talk to the gym about it, but it would be right there in front of the building.
Well, I mean, it's pretty long, but the only reason, there's 2, they're gonna enter one area and the other area, so you wanna make sure you put it in the area that they enter.
Yeah, I think it's by the unit 4. I think it's on the right hand
Yeah, I
side.
know it is, I know where it is, I live right across from it, but anyway, yeah, who takes care of that gym?
Yes.
Okay. Is the sign required to be displayed when the car is in that space?
The placard?
Yeah.
Yes.
So if it's not, and there's a car in that space,
It could be ticketed and towed, yes. And everybody also is advised that this space is not there, somebody else can come along that has a placard or a handicap registration and can park there.
right,
So it's,
it's obviously gonna be a tight area up there, because a lot of people living in there and taking one away.
I'm parking in the spot right now.
Enjoy it while you can.
And you said, John, all the paperwork's in on
yeah,
that?
I have everything here.
Okay. Entertain a motion to move on to council.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, all those in favor? Opposed? Okay. Motion carries to be moved to council.
President James, I need to get off the phone right now. I'll call back in shortly.
Okay, Fred. Okay, next.
Next, I wanted to advise the committee of a grant that's available through Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency. It's $135 million that's just been made available for different things. I had a meeting with the borough's grant writer, with the borough manager, I guess that was on Friday. Part of it is for technology, things such as cameras. I was hoping that the static cameras that were having put up or body cameras would be eligible, but it appears as though they're not going to be because it's something that we've already done. If we were to look to add cameras, this grant would look like it would apply. It does, however, also cover changes and upgrades to record management systems, which is something that we are going to be doing because our provider is actually making a change and we're gonna have to be forced to upgrade. So I was in the process, part of what I've been doing today is working on writing that grant or items that the grant writer said that they would need for that. It also looks as though, I know the borough manager was looking into cameras for certain areas of the borough, so that grant might be eligible for those things. So we might have some monies coming to us in the near future to take care of some of these things. Well, I just wanted to make you aware of that.
How about a new police station?
Doesn't cover
He
that.
just threw it out, throw it out there.
How large is the grant?
Well, the grant is $135 million in
No, I
total.
mean,
For Berks County, it's $10 million, I guess that was allotted for Berks County. What we're gonna be, I haven't gotten the money yet, the record management system I know is gonna be about $20,000 now for us to have that. So it's up a little, I think it's 18 what we've been paying, so it's gonna be a little bit more. So I'm hoping to get some monies to pay for that versus us having to.
So is it a matching grant?
Doesn't appear to be. I haven't read anything in there that says matching.
I didn't see that there was any contribution by the applicant required. Based off the population size of the borough, we're limited to $1 million grant request, so I don't think we're gonna get close to asking for that amount of money.
The records?
Right. But I mean, it could go towards, like I said, if we do additional cameras around, say, Happy Hollow or.
Can you just do one, or can you, could you
We
do
could-
records and
Yep.
the cameras?
Next, I wanted to make mention of a detail that we just did this Saturday with not only the Cumru Police, but state police were involved, Spring Township, sheriff deputies. I had made mention of a business that's actually located in Cumru that's giving some problems once it lets out to one of our area businesses especially. So there was a detail done there this past Saturday night. We had 2 officers involved with all these other agencies. It was a successful night, I would say. They weren't as busy as they hoped to be, which I guess is a good thing. I think the presence kind of really calmed things down there. But we are investigating a gun issue that was recovered and some drugs that were recovered off of some people. So it was successful in that. And let's hope that the business is in Cumru Township, as I said, so it's really their job to try to deal with that, but it's hope that what was generated gives them more fuel for their arguments for getting them into compliance, basically.
I thought they were wasn't Adams gonna just shut them down for nuisance?
Well, they have to, for that to happen, criminal has to take some steps and show all the problems that they're having and things that they've made arrests for and citations for and things like that. So all this is gonna kind of help go towards that. But it's also with the LCB, they're trying to work with them to lose their liquor license. So hopefully, it's not ours, I didn't want to say it because it's not ours, but it's on the on the borough line, let's put it that way, it's a bar on our borough
By
line,
Lincoln Park?
Lancaster Avenue, right there.
Oh, okay, it doesn't matter.
So, and lastly, I wanted to make mention, I think that maybe even the mayor wanted to say something about this regarding the borough's large vehicle parking ordinance. We recently received a complaint from a resident up on Darwin Drive about a trailer that's parked up there. It was on the 15th of September. The ordinance allows for something like that for 48 hours for loading and unloading, and this individual utilizes the trailer often, and it comes and goes a lot while they load and unload it. And it seems as though our original complainant feels as though they take it, they move it to another section of the borough, and then bring it back again for the 48 hours to start over again. I had an officer go up that day and talk to the individual and advise him that it's not gonna restart the 48-hour clock, because it doesn't say that you get to move it, bring it back, and load it and unload it again. It's, you get 48 hours to do it. But I also then had them check it over the weekend, and it was not there. And I went by again this morning before coming to see, so I wanted to talk about it, it's not there again. So I don't know if they're gonna keep it in compliance and keep it away, except for when they load or unload, but it seems as though it may be an issue up there for that. And the language is not really that clear. As I said, it mentions in that we have 48 hours for the loading and unloading, but if say they do move it for a couple of days and they come back, does it really start over again, or does it not? It would be something that I think if it became an issue, I would have officers issue that citation, and it may get challenged. I don't know what Judge Taylor how he would rule on that, but it may be something to consider, that we might have to shore that wording up a little bit more to make sure that that kind of thing doesn't happen. They don't move it from one spot to the other, and at 48 hours keeps.
We had that same
Restart.
situation on Garfield, if you remember. That, I think it was a race car, and they keep moving that around. And you responded the same thing, and it seemed to work for a while, but yeah, all it's gonna take is something to challenge it.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't know how Taylor how he'll rule on it, and if he would rule in our favor, if they appeal that, how a judge in town is going to rule on something like that.
We look at amending that ordinance.
Well, we can look at that. I mean, I'll have to take a look at the language and see what it says, and then think about the issues that you've raised today, Chief, and maybe you and I can correspond by email about that, see if there's some adjustment that might be appropriate.
I have a copy of this, I'll give it to you before we leave here.
If we're going to look at that whole thing, can we reduce the size of what can be parked? Some of the commercial, and I'm gonna, I know you've received complaints, I've seen personally the roofing truck at Forest Avenue and the Boulevard. Reading has the stop sign, and if that truck is there, parked in a certain spot, and people start pulling out because they can't see if there's a car coming down Forest, and that's just creates a dangerous situation. Now, I understand under current ordinance, it's within the size guidelines.
Well, we could look at that too. I mean, the regulation that you're looking at, Chief, does that identify what length triggers
Right,
this
so-
48-hour limit?
Yes, it starts it off by saying, it shall be unlawful for a person to park or leave standing any type of motorized or non-motorized vehicle having a gross weight in excess of 14,000 pounds or having a width in excess of 80 inches. So it's one or the other. Most of these trailers if they're recreational type trailers, they're probably gonna come in under the 14,000. Where they have the issue is the width, or over the 80 inches. So that's, but some of these dump trucks, they're probably within the 26,000 pounds because they are a Class C to operate them. So it would have to, 14,000, I'd have to ask one of my truck people as to what size truck that generally tends to
What
be.
is Class C?
That's your license, your driver's license. Most
So
of
it's a
us,
Commercial driver's
no,
license?
Class C is your
You
general,
don't need a commercial driver's license to drive a dump truck.
that's what I'm saying. So most of these trucks, those dump trucks are gonna be under the 26,000 pounds. Because they're, a Class C operator can drive them. So 14,000 is within that Class C. I'd have to, like I said, ask one of
I
my
don't know
truck
what the
people.
size of that is, but I would think it's not being used as a recreational, it's economy roofing, I know they live somewhere on Garfield Avenue,
Mhm.
but they park their cars or their trucks on Forrestal.
Right, but there's gonna because they're probably within that standard, that 14,000 or 80 inches. I'm sure they're below the 80 inches. I'm sure they're,
But it just creates an issue for our public works people cleaning the streets, plows, and it's a safety issue with other cars.
Well, if we're gonna go down that rabbit hole, clearly there's a lot of extra vehicles in front of people's houses that are usually their work vehicles when they park them there. And F-150s will plow in front, are just as annoying as a larger vehicle. So if we're gonna go down that road, there's a whole lot of classifications that could probably fall into this nuisance category that we're talking about, and to specifically, address certain vehicles, that's gonna take some work.
Well, if they're there working during the day,
No, I'm
that's
talking
one thing.
about when they get
But to
home.
permanently park their car there every night,
Yeah,
or vehicle,
yeah, that's what
to
they
me,
do.
it's a different story.
And it's hard to define, but there's also just kind of the appropriateness of being a good neighbor or whatever. I mean, I don't think anybody really objects too strenuously to a pickup truck or a work van. But the dump truck, sometimes loaded with material and stuff like that, really is inappropriate for a residential neighborhood. It belongs in they must have some place of business or something, and you park it there. I mean, personal experience, my family's plumbing business. Both my brothers, one brother has a van, one has a pickup truck. They got a couple of dump trucks, but they're parked behind the shop. It's where something like that belongs. And I know it's the old
Hector, you're back.
joke that we talked about countless times about we don't have an ordinance against bad neighbors, but that's the sort of thing it involves. Now, I don't know what the current status is, Michelle, but we've had an issue over on Cherrywood with the tractor, part of a tractor trailer truck being parked whenever he's not on the road, and that's, and that neighborhood has already had issues with the group home and stuff like that, and it's we got people up the street complaining about the big truck being there, and this guy actually complaining about the group home. I mean, it goes round and round and round. So it's, I don't know how you define it, but it's just not the sort of thing that most people expect from in their neighborhood.
I think if you're gonna have this conversation, you also need to talk about boats, RVs, and regular trailers, because those are the calls I historically got the most of over the years, people shocked and amazed that, yes, you could park your boat or your camper on the street as long as it's registered and doesn't meet the requirements of an oversized vehicle.
Is something, that's something that would tend to be there for longer than 48 hours.
I think a lot of it needs to be looked at, comes to mind too is dumpsters. I know a house that's been parked in the street for 3 weeks. I'm not seeing much activity going on, but the dumpster's parked in front of this house for 3 weeks.
But keep in mind, a lot of times they'll pull the dumpster permit first while they're going through plan review because they're doing demo. So till they do demo and then the dumpster's there throughout the course of the construction progress or project, it can be multiple weeks. And if they've applied for a building permit, that dumpster permit goes in, they still need to apply for a separate dumpster permit, but the dumpster permit, instead of 10 days, is allowed for as long as the building permit is active until the certificate of occupancy is issued.
You know, if somebody's improving their property, I think we can all, you know, accept that sort of thing. The other thing, Chris, would be, this is not unique to us. Do other municipalities have tighter worded ordinances that would be equivalent to this?
One of the approaches to this that I have just been working on with another client is the penalty for these kinds of violations, where traditionally they have the same penalty as a sedan parked in the wrong location. And because these large vehicles may take a couple of parking spaces, the impact on the availability of on-street parking is greater with a large vehicle than it is for an illegally parked sedan. So what we're doing in that case is to amplify the penalty for violating the parking regulation when it involves an oversized vehicle. And that, I don't know if that would be helpful here, but that could be another tool to use to try to discourage the behavior.
The penalty on it, I would say, is already enhanced, it's between $100 and $600,
Well, then you do have
up to 90 days if the judge would so desire.
then you do have a high penalty already. But it's a challenge. I mean, more and more people seem to be utilizing their home as their place of business, and, parking commercial vehicles at home is definitely something that's happening quite a lot.
Okay, any other discussions on that?
I know, it may help soften the blow if we do enhance it somehow or another, if we do some sort of newsletter article or something at some point, just saying, let's be good neighbors here, and be mindful of the impact of this sort of thing when it goes around.
Is there any way that you can look in your files about what's going on in other residential communities like this?
Sure.
There aren't a whole lot of them, clearly, but if we just walk away today, we'll be right back to where we started from at the next meeting, because we already have an ordinance, unless you want to come up with some things, because between boats and trailers and, plows and, just a painting truck, there's a lot of things going on. People have 2 cars and they have a business vehicle. If we want to put some thought to it, somebody ought to put some thought to it, give us some ideas, because if we just walk away today, we're going to be right back where we started from.
Well, I think the chief and I are gonna look at this and look at the regulations and see if there's any improvements that we can recommend. And I will definitely look at other municipalities' regulations and see if there's any wisdom there that we could borrow.
Sounds good.
Very good.
Before you move on, in reading the blotter, it seemed like you're finding more guns. And it also seems like you're getting more reports of Megan's Law folks working in the borough. Is that your perception? I don't.
Well, yes, I think we've had a lot of guns recently. We traditionally get a bunch, but we get a lot. And I would say that there's been a lot of training that I've sent some people to recently that has helped them generate some knowledge on how to find it. So I think that that's part of their utilizing the training that they're receiving. So I don't necessarily think that they haven't always been there, but I've got a bunch of young, aggressive officers that want to go out and do the job, and I'm getting them the training and they're utilizing, which I'm very happy about. As far as the Megan Law, that is something that in the past we were always notified of, but it was never documented well. And it's just kind of a change that I've made. Their information, their name was put into our system, but there was no way to search what that was there for then. So we get them all the time from the state police, And because of that, I'm a way to track it a little bit better so that I know, and we can see how, we'll get them in there sometimes, you don't see the people online, but one of those will be that they've moved into the borough somewhere, or they're working, and the next week, you'll see it, it's gonna be for that same person, and now they're no longer living or working, or being notified. So, there are places within our borough now, I will say, that they tend to always move to or work at. So there's a person that tends to give those people the opportunity for employment. We have a location where they can easily get a place to stay. So that's why we are getting a lot of them. We have 2 places that draw people with those backgrounds.
And they think they're doing the right thing to give people second chances. But on the gun thing, I'd say welcome to 2022. I mean, this is the world we're living in. One of the things about the Megan's Law thing, I'm obviously a real estate broker, and I looked at that Pennsylvania website about that, and was astonished one day when I saw a number of them in the 900 block of Penn Avenue. I thought, how can this be? Turns out there's a temporary employment agency there. Nobody's actually there working or whatever, but they work through that agency, and then they're out wherever. And it showed up on Wyomissing 900 block of Penn Avenue, and it really isn't. So sometimes you just have to dig into it a little bit and find out that it's not nearly as serious as it appears.
Are you getting information from Children and Youth Services about issues involving Megan's Law violations, that kind of stuff, or do you just get
No,
notified?
we're, no. If what you see on the website for those are coming from the state police, those notifications. If we are getting any kind of issues, reports of child abuse that are coming from children or youth, that's gonna be labeled as such like that. So they're not notifying us about Megan's Law type of offenses.
So when we're talking about Megan's Law, well, you're just talking about people moving into the area that are on the sexual offender list. Or not.
Well, I'm just, in the blotter, Daily Blotter,
Yeah.
will say that they received a report of somebody, a Megan's Law person working in the borough, not usually residing, usually it's more often working.
But that's not against the law.
No, it's not against the law,
Okay.
but I just didn't know whether there was an uptick.
Oh, well, probably.
That was my
is.
question.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's more that I'm documenting it differently, so that it's easier to track later if need be.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have anything else for the chief? Thank you, sir. Okay, moving on to the Civil Service Commission.
We had a Civil Service Commission meeting on Friday at 12 o'clock. There actually is no current fire department application fee, so there's no need for the committee to recommend waiving that, but there is an application fee for the police department. Chief, you can speak to why you like that fee to be waived.
I requested that the fee be waived because of the issues that we're seeing as a nation as a whole in trying to recruit people to become a police officer. I know that West Reading just had 3 people apply, and that was it. I think they're thinking about doing their extension for the process for people to apply. Moton had none, Spring had 11. So it's going down, and I'm trying to figure a way that we can hopefully attract more people to take that test. When you think of an investment in an officer over 25 years, the $1 million plus that you're investing into them, I think that, I guess the last time we took it at $45 for the application fee, you know, if we got 30 people again, which if we get 30, that's a lot in today's reality, you know, we're looking at $1,200. I think that $1,200 that we're not gonna get is pretty fair trade in trying to get as many qualified candidates as possible to come in and take our test. That is why I requested that with them, and they agreed to that, the Civil Service Commission, so it's kind of where that's at.
Can you speak to the cost of going through the academy?
The academy cost at Reading is just under $6,000 for the academy itself. There's going to be about another 500 in uniforms that you have to purchase for the academy between the daily uniform and PT clothing. And then there's going to be the costs of the psychological, the drug screens, the physicals that are gonna have to be done, the PT test that has to be done. So that's gonna be another, the polygraph.
Are we paying that now? Are we paying those fees now?
Yes. So that's gonna be another couple thousand right there as well, so.
I just anecdotally, I have a real estate customer whose son is interested in pursuing police work, and needs to go to the academy, and was told that at present, there are not enough students for the next academy in January.
For the Reading
To
Academy?
run.
I did ask that question, and they are having one.
They are sure,
Yes.
but they had like 12 people or something like that.
Yeah, they have some, maybe there's more than what there was when he first asked, but they have some that they're hiring for themselves at Reading. They have some other agencies already that are assigned,
Oh, that's great.
sending people. So there will be an academy. It starts January 15th, I believe, 15th or 16th.
Great.
Is there a
How
maximum
many
number that
applicants
they-
is the city getting? I see that they just advertised again. Just estimate.
I'm sorry,
How many applicants is the city getting on
I
an
think-
average?
when I asked the question about the academy, starting in January, I believe they said they had 10 for the city right now, going through that academy class.
And they presently have like 45 or something openings.
I think that is not just the police department, though, that's citywide for other positions as well.
I'm not sure about that. Again, that's good news.
Is the state police academy still running as well?
Is it still running?
Yeah.
Yes.
And what's that one cost?
I don't know what the state's is, I looked at Reading, I think they're all gonna be the same. We're hoping that this process moves fast enough that we'll get them into the Reading Academy, and or her if they need it, but.
Chief, I think that's a great idea, and I think we're at a point now that, you know, we gotta try anything and everything. You know, it's a shame, I can remember when we were hiring one patrol officer, and we had 50 applicants for one position. Times they have changed.
Yep. I
Having
had-
said that, I'll make a motion that we waive the application fee this time for,
Is civil service already recommending that to council?
I mean, they were in favor of it, yes, but it's not really their,
So it has to come from here?
yes.
yeah.
Okay. And I'll second that.
Motion and second, all those in favor?
Can I just ask one other question? When they make their application, is there anything in their application that would, are we just gonna bring them in? Or is there some cut there that we're not doing, what am I trying to say? We're not just trying to bring people in the door, we want qualified people. So are they qualified people we're waiving this fee for, or anybody who puts in an application and now you have a ton of people?
Well, they have to meet certain requirements for them to actually be eligible to take the test. So they have to meet those qualifications.
Yeah, we're not waiving their, you know, qualifications or, you know, or the whole procedure. All we're doing is say, you know, guy says, hey, I think I stand a chance, but boy, I really don't have $45. Well, now he doesn't have to worry about that $45. Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, we'll move it on to council.
I did want to remind everybody though, that the last time we did this process, we didn't have an abundance of candidates, we had enough. But of that list that we developed and council ultimately approved, we hired six off of that list. I mean, it was not as many numbers, but really awfully good quality.
And I hope that I'm okay to start this advertising immediately, saying that it's, because I don't wanna wait till council Tuesday till it gets advertised, and I really wanna get this process going.
I don't see any reason why you can't. Chris, do you?
No, I think if the committee's okay with it, and looking on the council people we have here, we have 4, including Fred. Are you okay with it, Fred?
I didn't hear the question.
Okay. The chief wants to advertise before the council meeting, and I'm looking around the table. You would be the 4th council person. I see some nodding heads here at the table. Are you okay with that?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, the worst that could happen is we have to get $45 for 7 applications.
Well, this will still be voted on by council at the council meeting, but I don't see any reason why you couldn't start the process, chief.
I will get it all started today. I have everything typed up, I just wanna get it out.
Where do we stand then with fire?
Civil service did make, they approved for themselves starting the hiring process, so Colin, do you wanna run through what the testing?
I don't have the stuff with me, but, we have a time frame put together by the civil service solicitor, which ours won't start till the end of the year, because we have to, besides go through the process of advertising, get the applications back, review the applications. If they pass that, then they would go to a written test, and then they have to go to the physical agility test, but the physical agility test is what hinges everything, because that's only done 2 times a year in the spring and the fall. So based off of what the past dates have been for the physical agility test, that's what the guidance was given of when we should start our process or whatever, for advertising and all that kind of stuff. The application was approved, and we would predominantly be ready if everything would work out well, probably like October, November, to come to council if we were able to hire at that point. That's how long the process will take.
Okay. Okay, as long as you got the time frame set up and you're comfortable with that time frame. Okay, good. Okay, anything else on civil service? Okay, moving on to West Side Emergency Management. Tom.
Okay, just a couple of quick information items here. The audit was completed and copies will come out at our December meeting for the agency. The mitigation steering committee meeting will be, or was held on the 14th. There'll be another one at the end of October. Wyomissing has returned and completed their action plan portion of that, so we're all up to date with that. No public meetings have been scheduled at this time. That's another one that's hard to pull people out of the woodwork for. The budget was prepared and was presented in September, and final approval at December meeting. Wyomissing also has that. The number really for our budget is what we get from the borough. The committee kind of reviews the other items specifically in there. But it's it was the same as before with the $2 and the new census numbers there. And we're looking at a date for, excuse me, municipal officials to be coming to open house again at the Emergency Operations Center, hopefully in the near future. So anyone has any questions? Luckily, we've been quiet. That's a good thing.
Where do we stand with newly elected people being, go through that class at Windsor or?
Well, who's keeping track of that now? Is that you or Melissa?
It's fallen back in both of our laps for the short term because of changes at the front desk.
Okay, and
but-
I can't answer the number they would have or no.
Yeah, I don't know that, I haven't looked at that Excel spreadsheet in a while, but, I mean, it is something we make newly elected officials aware of, and, I mean, sort of reminding them, I can't force anyone to do anything.
Well, that's kind
Well,
of
you
review
can,
that
if
again.
you can force them to, actually, because,
Yeah.
everyone.
Well, I
has-
tried,
Oh.
we've tried in the past, kind of taking the hardball approach and it didn't always work, so.
You wanna review that, let me know,
Yeah.
you know,
That includes like, especially new employees and stuff who are.
That's easy, the employees are easy, it's non-employees.
People sitting here maybe.
Hey.
Well, it's important, and I'll tell you, I will
Okay.
emphasize that, you know, I have the position I do, but the elected officials are the ones who ultimately take responsibility for anything that goes on that's of significance.
Fred and I took that class, is there something else you used?
Yeah, which you took the, you took the, class for the emergency
Yeah,
management.
and Fred did too.
Yeah, but that is not the same as the 100 and the.
Okay.
and the one, what is it, 107?
No,
100 and 700 are the numbers that,
The online course.
Yes.
right, and I would recommend, there are some others depending on what your position is, like if it's the police chief or the fire chief or whatever, they've got the next levels up, 200, 800 kinds of things, and even maybe a 300 level. I mean, it's extensive, but my feeling is that people who are involved, other than say police or fire or ambulance, have, I'm gonna shut up.
No.
No, he wants to get moved. Should have those classes so that they have some idea about terminology and what's going
I just wondered if you sat through that lovely 300, 400 class.
on. I did.
That also hinders grants, at least for the fire department. So I don't know how that affects the borough, but I know we have to show compliance with those numbers.
If they come knocking at it's like, I don't know that there's NIMS police kind of thing, but if they, for some reason, we would get a grant or whatever, and they'd come and say, let me see the certificates for everybody here and what I'm missing, and you can't pull them all out, we'd have to do a tap dance.
That's right, because I like, what you said earlier, that everything you requested from everybody involved with the agency, the Wyomissing has all their stuff in. We've done our homework, okay? This is the same thing. We gotta do this homework because it can come back to us.
Oh, I know,
So-
but I'm saying there are former council members that have not been council members now for a couple of years who were reminded repeatedly and just, nope, I'm not doing that. So I don't think we're gonna have that problem presently, nor other than Dave, am I aware of any council member that doesn't have what they need.
Just let me know if somebody needs it.
I would do that tomorrow, I mean, wherever I have to do it, do
Not
it.
quite that simple.
Yeah.
No, whatever,
Let's just,
whatever you have to do.
just get me a list.
Get me in. Yes.
There's a little procedure, but it wouldn't take enormous amounts of time, no. Okay, that's all I have.
Anything else for Todd? Okay, thank you. Is there any old business to be discussed? Hearing none? Any new business to be brought? Okay, do we have an executive session? Okay, will we be taking any action?
No,
Okay.
contractual personnel matters.
Okay, at this time, we're going to adjourn into executive session. There will be,
Objection. The reason is not sufficient as per Pennsylvania Sunshine Act.
Personnel matters.
personnel matters.
That's exactly what it's,
Okay, well,
it is said we
your
should.
objection is so noted.
Thank you.
Very good.
And at this point, we'll adjourn into executive session.